Hello, people. I have the end of this most recent section of Being in Time from the McQuarrie and Robinson translation on page 87. A couple of brief notes that are kind of good. If knowing is at all, it belongs solely to those entities which know. But even if these entities, in these entities, knowing is not present at hand. I like that description. Very clear definition of knowing, and I guess knowingness as immaterial. Anyways, proceeding. This is a really long quotation, but really meaningful and important. Really Heidegger here. Let's see. Inasmuch as knowing belongs to these entities which know, and is not some external characteristic, it must be inside. Now, the more unequivocally one maintains that knowing is proximally and really inside, and indeed has by no means the same kind of being as entities which are both physical and psychical, the less one presupposes when one believes that one is making headway in the question of the essence of knowledge and in the clarification of the relationship between subject and object. For only then can the problem arise of how this knowing subject comes out of its inner sphere into one which is other and external, of how knowing can have any object at all, and of how one must think of the object itself so that eventually the subject knows it without needing to venture a leap into another sphere. That's a big quotation. I haven't sorted all the way through it. I just sort of came back to it and presented it. I didn't think back through it. It's really Heidegger's novelty, I believe. His words. Anyways, page 88. Knowing is grounded in a being already alongside the world, which is essentially constitutive for Dasein's being. So I believe we could claim Dasein is a knowing being, or rather, Dasein's being is knowing. Or, as Heidegger's saying it here, being already alongside the world is constitutive for Dasein's being, and knowing is grounded in this being already alongside the world. So in that stepwise sense, knowing is constitutive for Dasein's being. Again, use of this term for in contrast to of. Being in the world as concern is fascinated by the world with which it is concerned. So I like his use of it's interesting to note the parse of being in the world, this sort of unit that can be fascinated. Dasein isn't just Dasein without a world. Dasein is being in the world. But Dasein's being that's confusing after the previous statement, which was being already alongside the world is essentially constitutive for Dasein's being. But I think what that includes is being in the world. Being in the world essentially constitutive for Dasein's being one of the first statements of the text. As concern, so Dasein is being in the world and is fascinated as concern and is fascinated by the world with which it is concerned. Looking at something in this way is sometimes a definite way of taking up a direction towards something, of setting our sights towards what is present at hand. Page 89. Such looking at enters the mode of dwelling autonomously alongside entities within the world. Such looking at enters the mode of dwelling autonomously alongside entities within the world. Also, we're getting sort of some more deep Heidegger's philosophy, being in time. Looking at alongside entities within the world, looking at this also is, I guess, this is the first time we're running into the term dwelling, which is, I believe, used more later on in Heidegger's Being in Time, to even just Division 1. Anyways, page 90. In knowing, Dasein achieves a new status of being towards a world which has already been discovered in Dasein itself. Knowing is a mode of Dasein founded on being in the world. Thus, being in the world as a basic state must be interpreted beforehand. So, the antecedents of being in the world to knowing for Dasein. Thinking about these things, but I don't know if I have anything to say. It's pretty tough. I'm glad you can ask questions. I mean, if you have any, you can ask them, but I'm glad I'm not before anyone right now, because if you were asking questions, it would be difficult for me to answer. I need to reread some of this. The notes are inadequate. So I don't know if you got anything. Thank you.